and welcome to this edition of Trigger Point Research Setups. And we're going to be talking about a variety of stocks today. As a matter of fact, the list that we're going to be looking at and going very quickly through it is going to be the potential breaking up setups that we put out earlier this week. Now, hopefully you've taken the opportunity to sign up for the various newsletters or even a trial for Trigger Point Research, because if you did, you will actually get many of these emailed to you twice a week. We do potential breaking ups and breaking downs. And of course, for subscribers, then you get the best of the ones that are looking to get a little bit more into the zone where we actually provide an alert to subscribers. The thing that you need to know about the setups is that these are simply that. These are not actually positions that we're initiating at this point, but the ones that our algorithms are providing a premier alert to, kind of a preliminary look at what is happening here and what we should be looking at. So these are the stocks we're talking about, and we're going to go through each of these very quickly just to see what they look like on a chart and see why we're looking at these as potentially breaking up. Again, this is just a setup. So let's take a look at that and start looking at what we have here. So let's kind of quickly go through. We'll take a look at INSM for the first one and see if it is something that we can find that shows us anything interesting. So if you look at this right now, INSM, you just kind of it's very easy to see. In fact, what you're seeing here is that right at the close to a little bit above the $12 level on the daily chart, we're seeing that there is very little resistance above. In fact, if you look over to the left, you see that this very key level of $12 is standing out, and above there all the way through somewhere around 1320, there's very little resistance for. And that's why we're looking at this as something that's very interesting. So we're keeping an eye on that and looking at to see what's happening. But again, we're looking at daily charts here in this particular video to see what's really happening and what we can glean to where we should be looking at this. Now, one thing of note, and I want to make sure this is something of caution, these are not absolute. We still have to see a few other parameters in terms of volume, in terms of the earnings dates, in terms of short interest, to see if these are going to continue to qualify for an actual breakout. Next on the list is Under Armour, symbol UA. All right, let's now take a look at what's happening with Under Armour. Now, Under Armour again has the same kind of look where we're seeing that the trend over time has been to the upside. Clearly, we see that the continuation of this level of movement and hasn't really broken down at any point there. You can kind of draw a bit of a channel on this as well. And when we look at this and we take a look at what's happening here, really focusing in on the area that if we do break, you can take a look at that as a cross section. If we do break above the level that is right here, we're really at a point that it's the potential for a breakout, because we did see that at the 71 level there was the potential for a breakout. It did break above that. Now we're seeing some clean movement potentially to the upside that can really happen. Next is Netflix. Let's take a look at this. Again, similar kind of look where we're seeing that this trend has been moving higher. We've got some consolidation. Now this, I want to show you this right here, this consolidation level here. This is really right about from about 248 to about 260, 268 was a consolidation level that we're really looking at and had to be very aware of. And we've seen this happen before. If you look back and you look over to the left here, you see the same kind of consolidation and then breakout. This was a consolidation, then a breakdown. What we're seeing here is the continuation of this kind of parameter. You want to look for where the consolidations are, and then from there what you want to do is see the next level where it's going to break. And at this level right now, when it comes to Netflix, clearly they are seeing we're seeing that the breakout is to the upside here, and we can look for it to potentially continue. Now, one thing I'll note, and it's very important to look at when it comes to Netflix, is very simply, you look at here, there is a very significant downside when we look at from 269 to 257-ish. And the important thing to note about that is that there's very little support below that. So when we're below the 269 level, that's something that I want you to pay attention to and watch very carefully. We're going to go through some of the rest of these a little bit faster. We're going to look at Brinker, which is a fast food or a food chain. You can see that what's happening with Brinker here is we're seeing that it is now at a level of support. And what's important about that is when you look at this support line right here at 41.26 approximately, what you want to notice is that it's had several other components to the left that had some reasonable amounts of volume again indicated by the dark red and the dark purple areas that we have in our indicators here. And by the way, all these indicators are available over on TradeStation in their strategy network, so you can check those out. What I would look for here in this particular position is to look for a bounce potential, to see if you could see if this does in fact hold for a couple of days and then bounce and move higher. This is something that you want to look at in stocks quite often. Liongate is also another stock. Again, quickly moving through here, you can very easily see there's no upside resistance on this. And keep a look at this. One of the ones we do like a lot is Stratasys. Stratasys it's very volatile, but it is a 3D printing company. And if you look at this, again, you have a very limited amount of volume on the upside, so there is breakout potential. Although, in this particular chart, again, what you have to be very careful about is the fact that right here in the 95 through about 102 level, there is no downside support. So you have to be very careful when you're looking at this particular name. Polaris is another one that we picked up the other day in terms of a setup. Look how it's consolidating very nicely, and volume is holding so well right here at the $113 level. There is a very large amount of downside, which it seems to us that is more likely than upside. But if in fact the continuation pattern does in fact move up from the level of consolidation, so we have a continuation pattern here, we have consolidation from these levels here. If you do see that it breaks up, well, then take the move. On the other hand, if it does start to move down, this is something that you would want to look at as a short. Just going through some of these other ones real quickly. Kohl's has been in a bit of a sporadic sense, but there is the opportunity again, the same for an upside move. I want to show you where we're seeing that in particular. We're looking back here to the June through July period, and notice that there's very little resistance above these levels. If we can get past about $53, there is an opportunity to move to about 54. Once you get past the 53.5 level here. Again, there's a upside and downside with this one. This is one, again, that's why they're just simply setups. So moving along, we have Swift Transportation, and you're seeing that very clearly a consolidation level, but breaking above about 1850 seems to be the level that you want to look for, where there is very little amount of resistance above. A couple of other ones, we have IAC Interactive. And IAC Interactive, same kind of look, where you have an upward slope overall, but the most important thing here is that very close to breaking, but bounced up, not only on its trend line, but it also jumped up on its level here, the key support level. You can see if you just draw a line right across there, you can see all the times that it did, in fact, hold that particular level. We also have a couple of others, and we'll keep it short from there. Look at this. This is a Skyworks Solutions, a thinly traded stock, but yet at the same time, there is a very good look for this in terms of breakout potential. Tyson Foods, also the chicken manufacturer. Look at that beautiful breakout. We saw this consolidation. Look at this consolidation. This is something you need to focus in on. Look at this consolidation right here. 27 through about 27.5. We saw many of these consolidations. Look at all of them right here. And then you see a break. Even this one to an extent. And then this break. Now, this break has not done anything but now form a new consolidation. The question is, what's going to happen next? Where is it going next? And that's what you really need to focus in on and be ready for. ALNY, which is a pharmaceutical, you can very easily see the same kind of situation. And again, a very significant consolidation range that we have now that is forming right there between about 45 and 49. The break is going to be the tell. Finally, we have one more to look at, Polycom, and it looks a little bit like this. Now, the thing about Polycom, with a much different look, it's more of a bounce candidate, is that at about $10, you see that break. Really, if you look to your left here, there's very little volume, very, very little volume, the resistance anywhere on this whole entire chart. So keep a look at that. And, of course, make sure to sign up for your trial of Trigger Point Research setups and alerts. Alerts you get a 14-day free trial on. I want you to try it on. It's very interesting. I think that you are going to like what you see. Thanks for joining me. We'll be around soon for some more.